This is the only thing you need to know about relocation specialists, and I am going to save the best for last and give you an additional 2 bonus things that you should keep in mind. Here are the top 3, but let's level set for a second. Why are relocation specialists so important in the temporary housing industry, aka the midterm rental space, aka the midterm rental insurance space, where we do work with relocation specialists the most? Well, number one is the insurance companies who are looking to relocate families due to unforeseen events are actually not the ones relocating families. They actually have 2 options. Number one, the family can find a temporary housing solution by themselves or work with a third-party company called a relocation agency, and there are multiple out there, the likes of Sierra's Temporary Housing, Alacrity Solutions, ALE Solutions. There are many out there, dozens of top performing agencies who supplement the supply to the demand needed by these insurance companies, who certainly do not have the time to be looking for mom and pop owners like ourselves. So now with that said, who is the person that comes in between, who is representative, who is essentially the liaison between us, the homeowners who have furnished accommodations, and the insurance company who needs to temporarily relocate their family at a premium, of course? That's the relocation specialist, and that's how they come into the picture. And here are 3 things that you really need to know about them. Number one, it's that these relocation specialists are incentive driven, which means that they're not just clocking in and trying to relocate as many families as possible. Yes, they are doing that, but there is an incentive for doing that effectively and efficiently. And that's placing as many families as possible and meeting their quota. And when they do meet their quota, there is an opportunity, again, understanding that some companies may have different thresholds and work differently, that the majority of them have an incentive that once the threshold is met, there is a bonus compensation. Now, it has nothing to do, from what my sources tell me internally, it has nothing to do with the amount, the dollar amount that's associated with the contract, right? Whether it's a $10,000 a month booking versus $15,000 versus $6,000 booking, it doesn't impact them, but the amount of threshold that they are able to meet does make an impact on how they will be compensated overall. I think about it like kind of like the realtors. I'm a licensed realtor in several states, and at the time when I was working with Keller Williams, there was this what we call a cap that you would need to meet, which would mean that if I do X amount of transactions and I get to, I think at the time was $18,000, all my transactions after that, I actually don't have to give any of my percentage to the house. What that means on the real estate side is, as a realtor, is typically that 3% that we get, we actually split 80-20, or depending on the brokerage that you work with, it could be 70-30 or sometimes even 85-15. Whatever it is that you arrange with, there is a split that comes with every real estate transaction sold. However, when you do cap, there is an opportunity for you, or at the time there was, for you to get the full commission, because it means that you've done enough business for that year and you've capped, which means that you can then take the full lion's share with you. There's this very similar model, from what I understand, in the relocation specialist field, where if they have met a certain threshold, then they will be compensated more. So you can think of it that way. But that's very important for us to understand, that it then means that the faster we can respond to them, the more available we make ourselves available to them, the more we help them meet their quotas, and the more they're continuously to come back to us if there's a need in the marketplace, especially in our market, because it means that when they reach out to us, there's dollars on the other side. And of course, they're helping a family. That's what they do for a living, but they also have an incentive to be able to work with someone who's going to help them get to that threshold faster. So that is number one. Number two, of course, they rely on multiple sources. A is their databases, which means that we go on their website as homeowners and enter our properties there, which I've spoken to a lot of them, and they love to go there for the reason being that they know that homeowners who list their properties there understand how they do business, which is important for them because it goes back to the number one, their incentive of closing faster. It shortens the amount of time frame and the time that it takes to fulfill a claim and relocate a family, because they don't have to start from scratch and re-explain themselves over again that, hey, I'm a relocation specialist, this is how we do business, we'll pay you up front, you'll state your fees, we'll send you a check, or we do an ACH. If you're currently getting value from watching this video, you'll want to make sure you take a second and click below to grab the midterm rental insurance blueprint to help accelerate your process in being able to land these midterm rental insurance contracts with respect to your marketplace. Make sure you click the button below and grab it and continue on with the gems in this video. Are afraid that they could very well be a scam, because rightfully so, there are a lot of scammers out there, and therefore they understand that if someone's in their database, they've already gone through the vetting process where their homeowner or management company or co-host, whoever it might be, is raising their hand and they're saying, hey, we understand how you do business and we want to be a part of it. And therefore, that's why we entered your property in the database. So they do love to go with their database is one. But then number two, they also, of course, leverage online travel agents like Airbnb, right? They'll go on Airbnb, they'll look to see what's available. They'll go on areas like Furnished Finder, which is not an OTA, not to be confused. It's just a platform to source properties, right? And then they'll go on Zillow and they'll go online to source more. But in order to expedite the process, they don't have to go to all those places if they already have existing relationships in their marketplace, which means that they either have you, the homeowner, on speed dial, or they have you on email, and they'll contact you before they even do all of the above. Now, that's number two, right? So we talked about the incentive-driven. Relocation specialists are incentive-driven, so they need to meet a certain threshold. They get compensated more when they do so. That's number one. So it's important for you to understand that so you can position yourself to be a resource for them when they go to number two, which is the multiple areas where they go. They go to databases, they go to online travel agents like Airbnb, Furnished Finder, online resources like Zillow Rental Manager, etc. And of course, most importantly, they also factor in their existing relationships in that marketplace, which is definitely what you want to be a part of. Now, number three is the most important one, saving the best for last, of course. It's very important that you understand this in the industry. Okay, you ready? Right? Ready or not? All relocation specialists do things differently, even if they work for the same company, which means that everything that I said before, number one, incentive driven is great, check mark, that's all of them. But number two, they might either go to their database first, or they might call the person they have a relationship first, or they might go to an OTA first, or some don't even go to on OTAs, aka Airbnb. They're not allowed to because there are specific people in their department who do that as part of the hotel department, which then means that it is in your best interest for you to be able to meet the relocation specialist is to have that omnipresence. And if you're going to ask me which one I believe is the most important one you should be focusing on is relationship. One more time, relationship. Relationship will trump all of the above, because no matter what, before they even look at their database, they will call you first. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is, I believe, the most critical thing that we can do in all business. It's to foster relationship, right? It's to be on top of the relationship and understand that all relocation specialists are created equal, of course, but not all of them, even under the same company, operate the same way. And that's very important for you to understand how you can navigate around the marketplace, because do not think that there's a specific order that they do things. It all depends to the discretion of the relocation specialist. So to recap, number one thing you need to know about relocation specialists is that they are incentive driven by money, driven by the amount of families they're able to relocate in volume. Number two, they look in multiple places like databases, their own databases, Airbnb, Furnished Finder, Zillow Rental Manager, and of course, relationships. They'll call you directly if you foster that relationship, which is what I encourage everyone to do. And number three, it is that none of the relocation specialists do things a certain way in a certain order, right? They all have their ways of doing things, even within the same company. And that is important for you to know, to then be able to at least capitalize on building a relationship as number one. And number two, understand the omnipresence that you need to have in the marketplace. So those were the top three. I gave you three bonuses, but the number one thing you need to know is that they all do it differently. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will help you be able to position yourself accordingly. Because if you can serve the relocation specialist the best way, your properties will be served the most profitable way. They'll be 100% occupied and they will be super profitable And high profitability equals high margins and high return on your investment in your time. And that is why we focus on the relocation specialist. And now that you know, you will also be able to focus and cater to them too. If you got value from this video, make sure you check out my video on how to win conversations with your relocation specialist using these questions.